How are we doing? How y'all feeling? How's it all going? We're all doing well? You got good energy here? All right, wonderful. Let's cozy yourselves in, get yourself some coffee. And we have a really, really beautiful, we got a beautiful class coming up. Hello, hello. Good evening, Ari. You can take a book. And why don't you get the door behind you?
I'll close it.
Yeah, why not? Let's close it. Do we have enough seats over here? All right, look at this. Look at this. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome to Advice for Life. New friends, old friends. Not old in age. Old in quality. I don't know. Okay.
Longevity.
Longevity. There we go.
Dig yourself out of that one.
All right, this is really exciting. Advice for Life. The Lubavitcher Rebbe's guidance for leading a more purposeful life. And by raise of hand, I'm just wondering, when this course was planned many months ago, there was a little bit of a marketing challenge. How do you market this course? Because there's two very different pitches to this course. One is we could offer you a meaningful life, so like meaningful life course. The other one is get to meet the Lubavitcher Rebbe. If you want to learn more about him, get to know what he says. So which angle do you go with? So by raise of hand, I want to know, out of pure curiosity, which point was what brought you here, if any? Was it the meaningfulness or the advice part of it, by raise of hand? Was it the Rebbe, by raise of hand? All right, so it was like, I think 50-50. Okay, so then, I guess, you could be both. You could be both. You could be both. So okay, so if there's so I guess there's a healthy conflict then. Okay, in any case, dear friends, Advice for Life, and I want to especially thank, as we begin, Max and Amy for dedicating this course in honor of the bar mitzvah of Nathan. Mazel tov, mazel tov. And look at this. We had an amazing sellout this morning, an amazing group here tonight, and the night class is supposed to be even bigger. Quite a few people are not feeling well, so I think for next class we're already going to have to add some seats over here, because it's going to be a little bit tight already next week, hopefully, a little bit more tight.
I heard Taylor Swift was coming.
You never know. You never know. Okay. So, a few housekeepings, all right? Number one, we do this class in the mornings and in the evenings. Wednesday morning at 11, Wednesday evening at 7:30 right now. If you ever want, feel free to alternate. If you even want, you can come to both classes. We won't charge you extra. But that's number one. Feel free to alternate to make it work for you. Point number two is that last course, the Kabbalah course, we started a new tradition, and we had a new idea that the last class we made it into a little bit more of a celebratory gathering, less than 6. We did it on a Sunday morning. We did a whole breakfast. We brought both classes together. And I think it was really good. And I want to do the same, but I first wanted to do an in-class vote just to see if that feels right to all of us. I believe it's going to be March 3rd. Does that make sense? Yeah. March 3rd. So the Wednesday would be March 6th. The Sunday would be March 3rd. And is that something which we're all for? Yay or nay? We got here Mark Bax, my chief of the board at JFS. So he's the one who usually does the roll calls. Yay, we got yays. We need somebody to start the yay, right? So he says yay. Is that?
The yay.
Oh, the second the yay. We need a second. Is this something which generally sounds good? Daniel, you're in? Yes. Okay. Any objections? No. Okay.
Depends on the menu.
Depends on the menu. Oh. Playing hard to get, huh?
Couldn't be.
So I think we're going to do it. So stay tuned for the email, which means that the last class is going to move from Wednesday to Sunday, and there's only going to be one class Sunday morning. Last time, a few people weren't able to make it Sunday, so we did a Zoom class Wednesday night. So like that, no one should be left out, because you did register for a Wednesday class, not for a Sunday class. So we'll still do, maybe even in person if there's enough of an interest. But the primary class, the last will be Sunday. Stand by for the email. All right? We're going to confirm that. Dear friends, here we go. Let us begin our journey, Advice for Life. And I want to tell you a little bit. It's a very unique course. All these courses we do 4 times a year. Major topic in Judaism. We explore it either in 6-week classes, sometimes 4 sessions, and we're always looking at all of Judaism to address the issue. So, for example, last course we did the world of Kabbalah. That was a big one, right? You won't have to work as hard this course. that was very. Oh, there we go, Alex. Right? That was a little bit challenging. In the springtime, we have a medical ethics course. Medical ethics, life and death questions. Very unbelievable course coming up in the spring. But right now we're doing Advice for Life, and what's unique is that in this course, most courses we look at all of Judaism. Let's look at our entire heritage, our tradition, and see what the insight is, what the light is. Here we are looking at one man's teachings. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Rebbe of the Chabad movement. And we're going to be looking at his teachings and his guidance, his wisdom specifically, which makes this a very niche and very, very interesting type of course. We're not going to have time to talk a lot about the Rebbe. If you want to get a biography in the book, there should be, right at the beginning of the book, there should be a basic biography about the Rebbe's life. If you want to get you could read a lot more online. But I'll tell you a little bit about the Rebbe. So the Rebbe was born in 1902. 1902, he is born in Ukraine. And he's born to an illustrious family, rabbinic family, the Schneerson family, which is the royal family of Chabad, who is the leaders of Chabad throughout the generations. And the Rebbe marries his distant cousin, the daughter of what is now the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, who passed away in 1950. In 1950, the Rebbe assumes responsibility for the Chabad movement. Now, 1950 Chabad looked very different than it does today. Chabad in 1950 was, number one, very small, just like every Jewish community, just like every Jewish family. We've lost too many to the Holocaust, too many to the Stalin killing machine, and between everything, Chabad was just like the whole of the Jewish community, very broken, a broken people. All immigrants, European immigrants, some in Israel, some in America. And in 1950, the Rebbe Chabad has maybe a few hundred members. And Chabad is nothing more than a small, Orthodox, religious, Hasidic group in New York. And from when the Rebbe takes over the helm of Chabad, he saw himself as the person, the godly sent person, to be there for the Jewish people. The Jewish people were in tremendous disarray. It's after the Holocaust. And the Jews were down. There wasn't life. There wasn't joy. And the challenge of facing Judaism, post-Holocaust, the new world, the world of affluence, the world of opportunities, the Rebbe saw himself as somebody who could be there for the Jewish people. And he put himself to work, and he challenged all of his followers to not just take care of themselves, but to be there for the Jewish people. He started this radical idea to open up Chabad posts around the world, which today is over 5,000 centers around the world, to be there for the Jewish people and help connect every single Jew with their heritage, with love. And the rest is history, right? Here we are many decades later. So who was the Rebbe? Let me just tell you a few things. Number one, the Rebbe was a rabbi, a great Torah scholar. The Rebbe was a teacher. Number one, he taught Torah. He taught Judaism. That was his number one thing. The Rebbe simply taught. And the Rebbe was unbelievably prolific. The volumes that contained the Rebbe's teachings in the original Hebrew or Yiddish are over 300 volumes. It's unbelievable just simply how much the Rebbe's output was in just a few decades. The Rebbe taught and taught and taught and taught. So that's number one. The Rebbe was simply a great, great Torah scholar. And this is something which was already in his private life. Part of those 300 volumes are diaries that were only published after the Rebbe's passing. The Rebbe's personal diaries from when he was a young man in Europe, including during the Holocaust, of his own personal life. He was the Rebbe said about himself that he's naturally an introvert. He's not naturally an extrovert. And his whole private life before he became a leader was extremely private to himself. And he had a diary, just multiple notebooks. And it was found in the Rebbe's desk after he passed away, so they published it. Unbelievable, just volumes and volumes of his own Torah thoughts. And he interacted with the great scholars of pre-war Europe in the day. So the number one was a great scholar. Number two, he was an activist. He cared about the Jewish people. And he made it his business to really care and look after Jewish communities around the world. One of Rebbe's first projects was to take care of the Jewish community in Morocco. I'm saying, who thinks about this stuff? Morocco then had hundreds of thousands of Jews. Today, most of them don't live there anymore. But Morocco and Tunisia had an ancient Jewish tradition, Jewish community, hundreds of thousands of Jews. Today, they all immigrated first to France, and then many of them, for example, are in Canada, part of that community. And they were right away sent a whole bunch of young families. There was zero infrastructure for the Jews in Morocco. They were very poor. They had no leadership. It just happened to be that there were hardly any rabbis there. Go down there, open up shuls and schools, and educate the people. There's nobody even there writing Torahs, writing a mezuzah. If you want a mezuzah in Morocco, no one to get a mezuzah from. So the Rebbe sent down, just for an example, the Rebbe sent down there a few scribes from Brooklyn to train Moroccan Jews how to write their own mezuzahs. Just built up the whole community of Morocco. So the Rebbe was an unbelievable Jewish leader. Judaism in America, Judaism in Israel. But point number three, so there was a great Torah scholar, a great community leader, Jewish people's leader. But I think what's perhaps most remarkable about the Rebbe, which is what this course is going to be about, is that the Rebbe didn't just busy himself with the big picture, with the big projects, with the big concerns of the people. The Rebbe made himself available to individuals in an extraordinary way. The Rebbe was simply available for anybody from the moment he became a leader. You could simply, and it was like an open secret, and slowly, more and more people found out about it. You could call up the Rebbe's office. There was a secretary, many secretaries, and if you said, "I want to have a meeting with the Lubavitcher Rebbe," you got the meeting. You didn't need any credentials, didn't need any connections, didn't ask you any questions, didn't need a membership card. You want to meet? I don't care who you are, what religion you are, what color you are. You could meet with the Rebbe. So the Rebbe had his day job, and then evenings. The Rebbe would simply stay up at nights, meeting with people for years and years. And the Rebbe just gave himself to people, to let people cry, to let people come, ask for advice, whatever you wanted. The Rebbe was there. The Rebbe also received a lot of mail for the same reason. In 1987, the United States Postal Service put out a report about the state of this government agency, the USPS. How's it doing? What's going on? How many employees? What's the budgets? What's this? So one of the parts of this report was who gets the most mail in America. So number one was the White House. The White House gets the most mail in America. Number two was the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe got sacks and sacks of mail every single day, and the Rebbe made it his business to respond to them, which is crazy. The Rebbe did not have some intern reading his mail. The Rebbe personally opened up the envelopes and read mail and responded to mail. The Rebbe was writing dozens and dozens of letters in many different languages. The Rebbe spoke many languages also. Just responding to people. People wrote to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would respond to you. It could be a little boy, it could be a little girl, anybody. And in this way, the Rebbe left behind an unbelievable legacy of wisdom, of real life guidance and advice. And that is something that this course is, God willing, going to be sharing with us. So we're not going to be looking at the Rebbe's big ideas, the Rebbe's big scholarly ideas. We're looking very much at how the Rebbe dealt with regular people like me and you, who came to the Rebbe with whatever they're going through, and how the Rebbe spoke with them. So we have the Rebbe's teachings, we have the Rebbe's letters, and also this class is going to be taking advantage of a lot of multimedia. So in this way, this class, the screen's going to be doing a lot more than usual in this course, and I'll just be narrating in between. So we'll let the Rebbe speak for himself, which is really, can you imagine if we had videos of Moses? Wouldn't that be amazing? You could watch on YouTube a class for Moses or Maimonides. I'd love to get to know the wisdom of Maimonides. It is an unbelievable thing that the Rebbe lived in the modern age, and we had a Moses that you're able to, we literally have hours and hours. So just to show you this, I just want to show you. This is a volume that came out a few years ago. It's as big and heavy and as thick as like as a yellow pages, right? For example, this is an index. This is an index of the Rebbe's public talk. So this does not even include the Rebbe's letters. No correspondence in here. There are, I'll tell you how many pages there are here. 1,500 pages. It just looks like this, just an index. Topic and volume and what you could find things. So for example, random topic. This is about a public service. All times about public service. Counsel, depression. Different books, Maimonides, just any topic. The Rebbe was unbelievably prolific and just very down to earth. So this is what we're here to do, to try to tap into this, learn from the Rebbe, try to get firsthand advice on the biggest areas of life, health, relationships, work life, which is going to be today's topic. The list goes on and on, what we're going to be talking about in this course, finding fulfillment. So dear friends, let us begin. And before we jump into today's topic, I just want to show you just a little collection of some great Jewish leaders of this past generation, reflecting on the Rebbe. And one of them you'll see is Prime Minister Menachem Begin, the Israeli Prime Minister, and he's speaking, this is in front of the Rebbe, which is interesting. Most of the others are just interviews. This is actually from a TV report of when he met the Rebbe. They interviewed him in the presence of the Rebbe. So that's just interesting. I don't know if you'll notice that he's actually in the Rebbe's office when he's speaking. Okay, Daniel, you want to get the lights? Let us do our first video here.
It isn't only the Jewish community that values him, it's the worldwide community. And so many come here to receive his blessing.
Today, the Rebbe will be posthumously awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. A man who dedicated his life to helping others and to bringing people together. The Speaker of the House and I have many disagreements, but there's one thing, there is at least one thing on which we do agree. That is the awarding of this medal. This award, it brought Democrats and Republicans, liberals, conservatives, northerners and southerners, blacks, whites, and Hispanics. It brought us all together.
I remember the 70th birthday. People say that he was the new Baal Shem Tov. I rather compared him to the Maggid of Meserich. Although he never moved, he didn't travel. The Rebbe of Meserich was the one actually who had built. The Rebbe was like the Maggid. He had vision and wisdom and knowledge and everything else, but in practical life, he was an architect. He knew whom to send where. I think the Shaliach himself didn't know why he was sent somewhere, but he knew. The Rebbe was an architect in this part, in this respect. He knew how to build.
And therefore, I have asked for the blessings of the Rabbi, of our great teacher. Rabbi Schneerson is a great man in Israel. All of us respect him. All of us accept his judgment. He is a great lover of the house of Israel. He has shown his deep sentiment and love for our children. His blessings are very important to me. I do hope they will strengthen me on that very important mission I am going to fulfill during the meetings with President Carter, the President of the United States.
A unique personality, no doubt, that serves as a leader for tremendous number of Jewish people, a person that on one hand lives in the world of the Torah, but has got practical sense to the realities of the life everywhere in the world, and great sensitivity for the preserving of the Jewish people.
So with that, dear friends, let us jump into today's topic, which is going to be all about work, career, money, wealth, which is perhaps the greatest motivation of life, no? whether we like it or not. You gotta go get a job, you gotta make money, we obsess over money, we think about money, keeps us up at night. So we will begin at this most central part of life and let us get a little bit of an idea of what the Rebbe's guidance, what the Rebbe's advice, the wisdom was about money. So let us first do like this. Let us start digging into the topic. On page 4 in your books, I've got a question for you. It's in your books. I'll put it up here on the screen as well. And by the way, because we're using a lot of videos, and because for a lot of these videos, sometimes it's hard to hear, there's always subtitles. We also have this screen working. So hopefully between the two screens, you won't be missing anything. I have a question for you. In your opinion, what is the Jewish view, Jewish religious view, on work, career, and wealth? Okay, and there's 3 options in your book. So I want to take a vote with you, all right? Option A is, it is a necessary evil that provides us for the means of serving God, studying Torah, doing mitzvot, and being kind and charitable to others. So it's an evil, but it's a necessary evil. Okay, that's option A. Option B, it is part and parcel of our spiritual mission and journey. C is neutral. It is neither intrinsically positive nor negative, so long as we are honest in our business and do not allow our work/career to consume our lives to the exclusion of our spiritual life. What is the Jewish attitude towards the idea that most of our day, the majority of our waking hours, are spent doing what? Spent at our jobs. About 30%, that's what Google says, about 30% of the average human life is spent working. And then once you also account for how much time we spend sleeping, how much percentage is left? It's a little bit crazy how much of our life we simply spend, working, making money. Okay, so it's a big thing. So let's take a vote. Who says it's A, that it's a necessary evil? Anybody for A? By raise of hand. Nobody for A. Nobody for A. What about B? That it is part of our spiritual mission, part of our spiritual journey to be going to work. Not bad. Okay, wow. We got B's getting a lot of love. Who says C? It's neutral. Not bad, not good. Just make sure not to make too much trouble with it. Okay. So B, I think, is the vote here, and C is pretty close as well. Okay, next question. Question 2. What would you say, in your estimation, what is the Jewish view on affluence? Does Judaism like rich Jews? All right. Hey. Is it encouraged to be rich in Judaism? B, is it discouraged? Does Judaism not like the idea of being affluent? Or C? C is a safe answer. Depends on what? On something. So who says A, that it's encouraged in Judaism to be wealthy? Oh, somebody. Nobody? Nobody for wealth? Okay, B, it's discouraged. Who says Judaism discourages it? Nobody for discourages. C, that it depends? Okay, that's basically everybody. Just to get a few, depends on what? Yeah, what do you have in mind?
Depends on what you do.
It depends on what you do with it. You're saying when you become wealthy, we don't know if it's good yet. If you do something good with it, then okay.
Yep.
All right. So dear friends, let us jump in over here.
I would also say it depends how you define affluence, because
Okay.
we learn from our tradition who is rich, one who's happy with what he has.
I mean it in the way that we all think of affluence.
If we felt like we had what we needed.
When Tevi is saying, if I was a rich man,
Right.
what did he mean?
He didn't mean what I was saying.
No, he didn't. So I'm talking about that kind of wealth. Straight up. Money in the bank account. The type of wealth you can count. Okay. All right. So let's start jumping in. Let's start with what society's view of a job is, of money, of a career. I think it's safe to say that the view of society to having a job, holding on to a job, going to a job is that it's not something desirable in and of itself. It's a means to an end. You do it because you need to do it. The way I think of it is like this. Do you work in order to vacation, or do you vacation in order to work? What do you say? In your life, what's your attitude? You work in order to vacation, right? Then when the vacation's over, you gotta go back to work. What are you doing? Mark is not so sure. What do you say, Mark?
I'm just not sure I work in order to be.
Well, I understand it's a little bit extreme to think of it in those terms.
I'm not so sure I don't vacation in order to be better at my job.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
If I don't ever take a break.
Right. Right. But like, which one's serving what? Or another way to put it is, if you, even if you find, let's say you find tremendous fulfillment in your job, in your day job, but one day the boss says, please don't take this personal, you could still say, stay here. Don't worry. We're keeping your desk. We can't pay you anymore. But no, by all means, come back tomorrow. We won't evict you. We got a desk for you. We got a computer for you. We'll give you IT support. You're showing up the next day? No. What does that tell you? The whole work,
Well,
and this
wait
is
a minute. The only thing with that is that unfortunately value is part of that answer, right? I could come the next day, but
it means you're not valued. You're saying.
I'm saying that if the person at the desk next to me is getting paid, then what was the value of the job I was doing? Therefore,
So
why
that's
do
a separate-
I want to work
right.
in a place where there's no value?
That's also true, by the way. That's also true that there's other elements to it as well. But at the end of the day, what motivates us to go to work? What motivates us to get up early, even if we're not in the mood, even if it's not a job that we're necessarily enjoying right now? It's for the most parts we have to. Now, of course, we also try to find fulfillment in the work we do. We also try to make sure that it's something we enjoy doing. But nonetheless, I think we could all agree that at least society's view of work is, quote unquote, a necessary evil. I do it because I have to do it. Right? It's a necessary evil. It's motivated by need. I have to provide for the family. Right? Cost of living is going up. Okay, you gotta work. The Rebbe comes along. Now, one second. Let's also think about Judaism. If you could ask Judaism, whatever that is, you can ask the ism itself. Ask Judaism. What would you rather? Would you rather me stay in shul a whole day, empty my schedule so that I could study Torah a whole day? Or do you want me to go to work? What would Judaism tell you?
Torah.
Right? If you could avoid going to work and making time available, for sure, right? I think that's conventional wisdom. That sounds pretty obvious. Judaism would rather you not go to work. I understand. We've got no choice. You got to go to work. You got to put bread on the table. Okay, I understand. All right. But try not to do it so much, right? You could think Judaism saying that, no? Could you cut the hours a bit? Can we negotiate this? Are we all in agreement that that's probably generally you would see it as a conflict. Judaism versus my personal life versus what I got to take care of, yes.
Doesn't Pirkei Avot tell us a combination?
Of course it's a combination. Everything's a healthy balance, but at the end of the day, do we see it as a tug of war? What would be the attitude? I want to show you this little clip. All right? This is a businessman who comes to the Rebbe with a wonderful piece of news. He's so wealthy, he's doing so well, that he is ready to cut back going to work, and he could do half a day studying Torah, half a day he's going to be involved in helping the community, he's willing to help different Chabads, and this is wonderful news. I don't have to work anymore. Now I could finally be of use. All right, let's check this out. Daniel, you ready? This will help us get into the Rebbe's view.
I have enough money to live comfortably. It gives the doctor comfortably and everything comfortably. I'm thinking to learn 2 hours a day and to also help Chabad 2 hours a day, work and make calls to Rabbi Fogel and other Chabad rabbis. And I'm not sure about going into business again, half a day of business. That I'm not sure of. I like the bracha, and whatever I do, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Also bracha for my family, and for my mother and my father, and for all my relatives.
They have good news and much atzlocha, and you'll continue the business also, not only in learning.
Probably.
It is very strange that coming from me about the business,
right.
But nevertheless it's a good thing to show an example of successful businessman who has every day learning period, and happy about that.
Thank you.
And have a sweet year and sweet example.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting what's happening over here. This guy for sure thought that he's going to come, that was going to say, that's amazing news, pat him on the back. You've cleared more time to study Torah. What could be better to tell a rabbi, no? The Rebbe says, well, you're leaving business? No. Don't leave business. Stay in business. Yeah, of course, every businessman has to make time to study Torah, but be a businessman who studies Torah. So what's going on here? Why would the Rebbe say stay in business? The guy says, I have enough money for the rest of my life. I can get charity for the rest of my life. He still has to work for what? For why? So let's start digging in over here. The Rebbe's view is like this. Work in and of itself has value and is purposeful. From a Jewish perspective, going to work is something which is part of your purpose in life. And it doesn't matter what specific job you have. It's not only if you have if you're curing cancer, we all understand that's a very purposeful type of job. It doesn't matter what your job is, even if it's not so exciting. No matter what you do, the Rebbe's view is this has purpose. The way the Rebbe explained it is like this. The fact is, most of our day is spent working. Most of our effort, when we wake up in the morning, we filled up our gas tank, we're full of energy, we're full of power for the day, we recharge our batteries, we come home after a full days of work, and we're out of energy. Where'd all that energy just go? We literally expend the majority of our human resources on working. The way God made the world is, this is how God designed the world, that people need to go to work. And the Rebbe said that if this is how God designed the world, that means that this is part of God's purpose. Your purpose is to get out of the synagogue, get out of your own personal life, get out into the world, and that's where God needs you to be. The Rebbe's argument is that if God didn't want it to be this way, he wouldn't have made it this way. If God would have rather see a Jew in a synagogue a whole day and studying a whole day and with his family a whole day, he would have made a world that way. But God made a world that it's not a bug, it's a feature. That we are pushed out, there's pressure to get out there, to go into the world, and that's the purpose. Work itself is purposeful, and work itself is holy. The Rebbe's view is that every part of life is purposeful. Work and financial success have inherent value and purpose. And I want to discuss this with you. What does that mean? So there's a very big idea that our sages teach about, and it's at the cornerstone of the Hasidic philosophy, of Chabad philosophy, of the Rebbe's worldview. That the purpose of why we exist is to bring God down into this physical world. To bring heaven down into this earth. And Daniel, I see you were by the Kabbalah course, so you know exactly what we're talking about over here. In the words of our sages, the purpose of life is to make a home for God down here in this world, which is a massive topic in Hasidic philosophy. But the simple idea is that when we engage with the physical, mundane world, and we bring in the spirit of holiness, the spirit of godliness, the power of our soul, we are bringing holiness into a place where it wouldn't be there naturally. And therefore, our job is not to be coned up in our cocoon. Get out into the world, meet the world, interact with the world, interface with the world, and bring the spirit of holiness to that place. And how do you do that? It's very, very simple. The way we do that is very, very simple. When we work, we have a mezuzah on our office door. We're bringing holiness into our office. If during the workday we have a Torah book or we listen to a podcast, a little bit of Torah study, and we're a shining example to other people, we show people what it means to be a very special person in the office, somebody that people look up to. This is what it means, that our purpose is not inside our home. The purpose is not in the synagogue. The purpose is in the world, the careers that we have, which push us out. Let's read from our first text. For those of you who are new here, what we do in these courses is we go around. Whenever we have a text to read, we go around, and if you don't want, you could pass it along. And it's like this, it gives us all a little bit of a chance to read and to be involved over here. So Mark, let's begin with text 3. Something else, we don't read all the texts in the book during the class.
Text what?
Text 3 on page 8. Text 3, page 8. And there's a lot of good stuff in this book, you'll see. There's so much for you to supplement your learning and discovery throughout the week. So, okay, text 3, Mark, let's do this.
The Torah's perspective on Jewish life is puzzling. It informs us that God chose us from the rest of humanity and spiritually elevated us from the regular people. That creates the impression that we must spend the majority of our time in sacred pursuits, studying Torah, performing mitzvot, and worshiping in the tabernacle, and later in the Jerusalem temple. Why then does the Torah itself establish that the majority of a Jewish individual's life is to be devoted to material pursuits in which there is no distinction between a Jew and anyone else? The explanation is that the purpose for which God created the world is that God desired that we actively turn this material world with all of its corporeality and material coarseness into a dwelling for God himself, through serving God in this world in accordance with the Torah that he gave us. To achieve that, the majority and the main thrust of our daily service of God is not strictly spiritual activities. After all, our spiritual activities are comparable to the divine service performed by souls before they entered the world and after they returned to heaven. Rather, we spend most of our time specifically on interaction with materiality. Therefore, the Torah emphasizes, for 6 years you should sow your field, Leviticus 25:3. The idea is to bring sanctity and divinity down into our fields, the coarse realm of materiality, so as to turn our material and corporeal world into a home for God.
If God wanted a Jew to be secluded and to live in his own ivory tower, he would have made reality conducive to that. But that's not why our souls came down from heaven, to live in this physical world. The goal is to live in the physical world, interact with it, and our job is designed, the idea that God forces us all to get out there and to get careers is by divine design for us to find our mission and our purpose in the workplace, in the world itself. So let's put that up over here. This is the first step over here. Work is holy, and it's part of the purpose of existence, to bring holiness into the mundane world. And how do we do it? Simply search for opportunities of your divine mission and Torah and mitzvot in the workplace. You know, there's a Jew here, lives here in Bloomfield Hills, and he asked me this question once. His job takes him to an area of Detroit, and he does not have a single Jew who he works with. He says, isn't that weird? Why would God do that to me? Just interesting, just happens to be. I don't know a single Jew. I said, maybe that's your purpose. You could be an example for them. You could be a friend for them. You could inspire them. You know, these are people that you have a gift to give. This is where God placed you. This is exactly what the Rebbe is saying over here. Stop looking at work as a bug. I wish I could get out of it. I shouldn't be doing it. No. It's perfect. It's where you need to be. And this is step one for the spiritual purpose of the career, to bring holiness and Torah into the workplace. And this is the ultimate purpose of creation. It's not that when you go to work, you're turning your back on your Jewish life. You know, God, I wish I could spend the whole day in synagogue, but you know, I'm so sorry. I just have other things I got to take care of today. Is that the attitude? Do you ever saying absolutely not? For a Jew, going to work is equally as Jewish, equally as holy. Equally as holy to go to a Torah class and going to a synagogue is going to work. This is where God needs me right now. That's what I do. Just as holy, just as divine, just as purposeful. Okay, and I understand why the Rebbe is telling this businessman. What are you doing? You're dropping your business? You can't do that. Who gave you the right to drop it? You got to be in business. That's where your opportunities are. That's where your purpose is. Okay, let's go to step number 2. A very big part of this is that also, not only is there what we could do ourselves, the mitzvahs we could do in the workplace, interacting with the physical world, but as I just said about this guy, it's we meet people. We meet people that we would never meet otherwise, which is a very interesting thing. So much of our social life happens because we are meeting people through work, through our career. We're meeting with people, and there's no reason why they should be in our social circles, if not because of our work. And that is a very big part of this whole idea, of the purpose of why we are in the career. Let's read text 4 on page 10. Linda.
My grandfather, Rabbi Shmuel of Lubavitch, 1834 to 1882, the fourth Chabad Rebbe, had a close follower named Elia Aveler, who in terms of scholarship and aptitude was a simple fellow. In one of Elia's private audiences with my grandfather, he was told, Elia, I envy you. You travel to various fairs where you meet many people. In the middle of a business transaction, you get into a spirited discussion over a Torah insight, something inspirational you recall from the public Ein Yaakov class that retells stories and ethical teachings from the Talmud. When you do that, you arouse the other person's interest in studying Torah. This activity causes much joy on high. God rewards such trade with the blessings of children, health, and sustenance. The larger the fair, the more work there is, and the greater is the livelihood earned.
We're going to work not just to make money, but what? To meet people. God is setting us up with people. And what can we do there? We could be a good influence. We can inspire them. We could give them our gift of friendship, give them the gift of wisdom, give them the gift of bring them in. There's so many opportunities. And this is the real reason, the real career, why God is forcing us out the door, why it's so important. And with this, I want to show you a little video on this theme of making a difference, that the workplace provides unique opportunity to have a positive influence on others. Daniel, we're ready for you. Thank you so much, Daniel.
I just started a new job in IBM, and Hey Tavis comes along, and the Rebbe says on that day that everybody should be like a shliach. I didn't know, what did the Rebbe mean, everybody should be a shliach? Maybe he means that I gotta quit my job and like stop becoming a campus shliach or something like that. I wrote into the Rebbe, should I give up my job for IBM? What is it that the Rebbe wants? And the Rebbe like underlines it on the answer, and with a big, just one word answer, Lama. Why do you have to give up your job in IBM? I want you to stay in those things and be my shliach.
Madische mitzad de Geber kinonu, als wo kommt und was allein mit dem Masse kommt, soll dorten Schmäh von dem Mäbischten, soll dorten machen, dass in ein Leben als eigentlich Schake, bis wir Schachanti beseichen, ohne mit dich, in seine eigene Dalle Dame ist und danach gleich, al besser mit Bachut.
And that was what I ended up doing. I stayed in IBM. I had a very, very matzliachtik career.
So if you would give a warm round of applause for Mr. Moshe Rappaport from IBM.
But I felt all the time that I was doing shlichus. In other words, I would make speeches all over the world.
Your desktop or on your wall, or you're going to be wearing and so on, that are AI driven. But the real...
All through my career, I would write to the Rebbe what was going on, what I was doing.
Going to be secure. How are we going to manage the access control?
Top people, CEOs, politicians, famous journalists from all over the world came to find out what IBM was doing in research. And I get to meet all these people with my yarmulke, with my beard, and so on and so forth. The Jewish people came over to me, and I was actually a shliach in that sense.
Where offices center in Hong Kong should be complete.
You certainly know that now Hong Kong is a visiting place for many Jews from several countries. And then you can influence them during their visit in Hong Kong. When they are returning to their homes, they will bring with them additional Yerushalayim. And that will be your business also.
אני במקצועי נייבל ארכיטקט, יש לי מפעל בארץ גדול, ובזכות ברכתו מלפני שנתיים במכתב שכבודו כתב לי, שקיבלתי ממנו, קיבלנו עבודה גדולה מאוד, $2 מיליון, בצבא ארצות הברית, חודש אחרי המכתב. חודש אחרי קבלת המכתב קיבלנו את העבודה הכי גדולה בחיינו מהצבא האמריקאי.
ואיזו התחלה גדולה, ועד יש בכך יכול לעשות כפליים.
אני מקווה, אני משתדל. והרבה עובדים שלי שלא היו יראי שמיים, כשזה קרה, חזרו בתשובה. וזה הודות לכבוד הרב.
עדיין עליך להוסיף עוד יותר. בירושלים שלו, כאילו שבכוח יראו ויעשו קרליך על כל פנים החצינים.
The major exhibition that we exhibited at was in Brussels. It was a major upholstery fabric international exhibition. Part of our display was knowing that if a Jew came in there, he knew he would get caught and me asking him if he could put on film. The exhibition is going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Rosh Hashanah was coming up Monday night. To come in for one half a day on Monday exhibition, it's a little bit crazy. On the other hand, I knew the Rebbe wanted we should always be at the exhibition, so we're going. Rabbi Chadakov let me know that the Rebbe suggested that we put up a sign at the beginning of the show that due to the Sabbath, we're going to be closed at Friday 2:30. So the customers, they'll know in the beginning of the show they should come into you right away. At about 1:30, suddenly I see a gentleman walking up and down past our stand where there's thousands of people walking. But I see he keeps looking at the sign and he's asking, tell me, what is this closing the Sabbath? It's an international exhibition. What's this closing Rosh Hashanah? I said, where are you from, sir? He says, Ich bin a Polische. So I started dealing with a Jew. I said, how about putting on film? He looks at me like I went crazy. He says, film? Who believes in all of this? I don't believe in God. I don't believe in anything. He says, Ich bin durchgegangen Hitler. I went through Hitler. I never put on film, he says. I said, my friend, I understand you 100%. Once in your lifetime, you didn't have a bar mitzvah, you said. You'll be able to say, you're right, God wasn't right to you, and you had a bar mitzvah. He took off his jacket, and we put him on film. The minute he said Shema Yisrael, he broke down and started crying. He says, Ich kenn nicht. He was holding us out, Ich kenn nicht. And he sat down, and he didn't know what to do, how to thank us. You can imagine how we felt. Business, we didn't do that much, but we knew what we came for, and we knew we were going to have a good year.
So that's number two. Number two is that by going to work, having careers, it affords us unique opportunities to meet other people, inspire others to be better people, and to be better Jews. That's point number two. All right, we still have one more point over here for the spiritual purpose of our careers. Point number three is pretty unbelievable. If you'll ask anybody why going to work, it's to make money, right? Why are we going to work? To make a living, right? The Rebbe quoted a piece, a little teaching, from the first Chabad Rebbe, Rebbe Shneir Zalman of Liadi, who's Rebbe's great-great-great-grandfather. A Hasidic text. We're going to read it. And he says here, no, it's not the real reason why we go to why we go to make money. We don't go to work to make money. It's not the real reason. That's like the side hustle. That's the side reason. The real reason is like this. Let's read text 5. Al, we're holding by you, right?
Okay.
Text 5, page 12.
Who is like your people Israel, one nation on earth? The implication is that even while they engage in mundane matters on earth, they do not separate themselves from the true one. It is therefore appropriate that we do not perform all of our mundane engagements for material ends, but rather, in order to bring sustenance to other souls, pieces of goodness, godliness, and supply them with that which they lack, out of gratuitous kindness toward them. In doing so, we resemble our Creator, the one God, for God performs free kindness at all times, and His kindness is true, not for recompense, and that He animates the universe and all its contents every single moment.
Okay, this is a very, very heavy text over here. Number one, the text begins with the verse from Samuel, who is like your people Israel, one nation on earth. So the simple meaning of this verse is that it's a unique people, one unique nation. But if you read deeper, you know what the meaning of this verse is? That it's a people of oneness. There's no split, there's no division, there's no fragmentation in the life of a Jew. This was so central to the whole way the Rebbe saw life. If you see anything in life as a conflict, you're not living a life of oneness. That's not oneness. That's two-ness. That's three-ness. You've got compartmentalization. A Jew should never truly be conflicted. If you look at Judaism and your job and, they're in conflict. God, I wish I could go to shul today. I can't. I got a job. That's not oneness. A Jew has to look, which is what we've been learning about until now. The career is holy. You're not being any less Jewish by going to work. No, it's seamless. It's part of the same thing. And this text says like this. Of course, we go to work to make money, but that's really just the outer trappings. The real reason why a Jew goes to job, and the real reason why God puts us in the positions that we need to go make money, is to enable us to be able to be givers. If we don't have what to give, we can't be kind to other people. We can't be compassionate. We can't help. We can't be there for other people. God is kind. God is doing kindness. We could be like God and also share kindness. So you know why we go to work? It's like that we can make money to give to others. Yeah, we also get to support ourselves as well while we're at it. But that's a side point. The main reason is we go to make money to be able to give charity. Unbelievable idea. Your job is to give. That is the real reason why we go make money. And our spiritual mundane identities are intertwined. And therefore we make a living in order to have the means to give to others, emulating our Creator. Now I want to show you, I'll tell you a little story where the Rebbe used this teaching. This was 1959 in Israel. The Israeli economy is still very, very young, still very challenging. And there was a Chabad Jew. His name was Cheskel Springer, or in Israel they said Springer. Cheskel Springer, he was a businessman. He ran a turkey farm. All right, he lived in a village in Israel, and he was a supplier of turkeys for the whole of Israel. He had a massive turkey farm. And one day, this is in 1959, a bunch of investors come over to him. They want to double the farm. There's more opportunities. So he has this unbelievable, lucrative opportunity to double his business overnight. He has investors. The plan is all there. He's able to do it. But he knows it's going to take a lot more work from him, and he's going to have less time. He's a little bit conflicted. On the one hand, it's an amazing opportunity. He can become a lot wealthier overnight with this business opportunity. On the other hand, he thinks to himself, I make a comfortable living. I'm doing just fine. And maybe this is just a distraction. It's going to take away from the time I could study Torah, time I could go to shul. Maybe it's too much. Maybe it's not the right thing. So he wrote to the rabbi, what should he do? What would a rabbi answer? What do you think a rabbi would answer?
Take the opportunity.
A rabbi would say, take the opportunity? Now we have to remember, we're already a while into this class. So you already know that the Rebbe is going to come with a twist. The Rebbe is going to be counterintuitive. I think the stereotype would be that a rabbi would tell you, no, you got to keep time to study Torah. Don't get too busy. Don't get ahead of yourself. There's other priorities in life. What does the Rebbe say? This is a letter. Text 6. Lewis, page 13. Unbelievable letter.
Questioned whether it is appropriate for you to desire to further expand your income. That question has already been answered. 10% of one's earnings must be given to charity, and ideally for those who wish to step beyond the basic requirement and enhance their observance, 20%. In fact, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi explains that it is appropriate to give even more than that. This is especially relevant now that the institutions that require our charitable support require expansion, and therefore their financial needs are constantly growing as well. Consequently, additional charity is required, and that demands more turkeys and greater income.
The reason why God gives us opportunities and God gives us wealth and money is because we need to be doing goodness. That's the whole reason. The fact that we make our own money as well, that's secondary. That's the footnote. The main thing is that this is part of our purpose, that we could help the Jewish people. We could help other Jews. The Rebbe says, look at this. Israel's growing, the Jewish people's growing. It's the late 50s. We're booming. We're growing back after the Holocaust. Jewish institutions need our money. So why do you think God is sending you this opportunity? To give you more money in your bank account. This is a wonderful opportunity. This is where God needs you. The Rebbe says, take it. Absolutely. It's such an interesting, it's a whole different way of looking at it, the real oneness. And I want to show you now a little video. This is very interesting. If you guys want to look it up, I don't have time to go into the whole history. So we all know the Tafudi company, right? Tafudi Cuties and Tafudi cream cheese. You know what I'm talking about? Tafudi ice cream. So the owner of, and the founder, the CEO of Tafudi Ice Cream, he just recently passed away, maybe a year or two ago. His name was Mr. David Mintz, a Jew from New Jersey, a very successful businessman. And he, very, very fascinating history with him and the Rebbe. The Rebbe really, really guided him all throughout. And interestingly, the Rebbe was the one who gave him the idea to really look into tofu. The Rebbe said tofu is a totally untapped market, and there's so much potential there. And the Rebbe said, you just go figure out how to make tofu a good thing, and it worked unbelievable. He came to the Rebbe. I wanted to show you this video, that there were many investors who were telling him that he should sell shares of his company. Maybe he should even sell the whole company. So like that, there could be a lot more capital. There should be other investors involved who could invest a lot more. So he had this idea if maybe he should leave the company. He came to the Rebbe. So Daniel, we're ready for this one here.
Zo zijn maar hier in de wereld stonden. De losheden hebben we zorgen. We zullen heel en mijn broer als we zo kijken. Ja, ja. Also von der Ostseite sie trekken wir. Wir hatten einen Sohn also so verkaufen.
Was verkaufen die Retail Stores?
No,
Die ganze
Geschäft, ja. Weil es ist erst der Umstände sind nicht so geht. Sagt so, sie sagen, die Company, die Menschen mit neues Zeit sagen, es kann wachsen, ob andere Menschen kommen rein mit der Sache, ihr Geld.
War da eine gute Sache, war das vielleicht eine andere?
Nicht, aber so wusste Rebbe ist also...
Nein, mit das manche ist, ihr kommt auf ein verkaufen. Aber eben mit dem Geld, was sie bekommen, wird sie das investieren in ein Geschäft. Aber mit Waffen sein weiter aktiv mit Rebbe, dass der so geben Massage-Docke. Und wie ist das hier gegeben? Also, die Menschen schwierig
So, der Rebbe hat also gehalten, eine Arbeit nach dem...
Ja, aber die Sessenteil muss als Mamsche sein. Sie will Papier verkaufen. Macht mit Tees, aber mit Atmaya, sie soll tegen die das, was sie bleiben bei ihr, soll sie das verstärken und verbreiten.
There you have it, right? God needs us to make money, to be able to give charity, and that's the whole reason why we're here. That's why the wheels are turning. And this is number 3, the spiritual purpose of a career. The greater our earnings, the more we can give toward charitable causes, and that's what it's all about. So dear friends, with this, that we have this understanding of how the Rebbe saw the whole idea that we, people, humanity, have this pressure and even this lack of choice that we gotta go out and get a career. It's by design. There's oneness. It's purposeful. It's holy. And this actually leads us to a very interesting little part of the Rebbe's advice to people about retirement. Retirement. Who doesn't look forward to retiring, huh?
Retired.
All right, so we're going to be getting a little bit personal over here. Retirement is generally looked at as a good thing, as a good stage of life to reach. Because what does it mean? Hopefully it means that you've made enough, you've saved up enough, that now you can live for the rest of your life comfortably, and you don't have to spend the time anymore working and distracting. You can spend more time with the family. You could even learn more. You could be a better Jew now that you're retired. Whenever anybody came to the Rebbe, it should be unsurprising by now, and they said, I'm ready to retire, the Rebbe said, don't retire. Your purpose is to be out there in the world. God doesn't need souls to be sitting in a balcony in Boca, staring at the crashing waves. You know, you're not. God forbid, I hope I'm not offending anybody. But this was, okay, all in good nature. But the Rebbe said, you have to remain active. Remain active. Do not retire. When it's time to retire, God will let you know. Someone told us to me that they were very close to a doctor in Brooklyn, a Jewish doctor. No, he wasn't religious, but he was a doctor in Brooklyn, so he would quite often visit the Rebbe. This was like in the 60s, 70s, and then all of a sudden he retired. He got old, so he closed his practice, and probably went down to Florida, moved down. Then in the 80s, he came back to visit the Rebbe once. The Rebbe said, "Wow, I didn't see you in years, Where have you been?" He says, "Oh, Rebbe, I don't live here anymore. Right? I went down south. I'm retired." The Rebbe said, "Why did you retire? Don't retire. Go back to work." He says, "No, Rebbe, you have to understand. My hands don't work as well. My vision doesn't work as well. I can't be a doctor anymore." So the Rebbe told him, "You don't have to do everything you're doing before. But stay involved at least. You could do medical research. You could be a mentor. But you have to be involved. You can't fully retire." So interesting. Why? Because your purpose isn't work. You don't do it as a necessary evil, and then as soon as you get the opportunity to get out, oh, I'm out. Like I just saw an article of a guy in San Francisco. He made a lot of money. By 35 years old, he's retired. Right? Wonderful. 35 has nothing to do with his life anymore. What are you doing? Your point of life is to work. That's where you find your spiritual purpose. That's where your godly business is found. So I want to show you a little video on this. Let's see this in action, Daniel. You ready? No retiring.
Internet bin ich hängen geblieben, soll ich retiren, soll ich retiren from the business?
How did you
Also ich bin aber wie merkt man vorher?
That's what I'm
Okay.
So I'm more.
Ja. Ich will gerade so beten, für gesund und mal frei von dir.
Ja, soll ich sagen, wenn die gesund haben, gesunde Kinder und haben gesunde Psyche, ist man mal schon besser.
Ja, mal.
Deswegen Retirement. Das mir nie war, wenn ich sage,
Since possibly to have this you can be active now also. The retirement is always good for old people, or young person. But 220, how much more you need? 220, you have 45 years. It will be good to the first thing for you and Geschäften, that you can certainly continue it, not have to think even about retiring. You must gain much more money to give much more tzedakah, and to do so in good mood and good health together with your family.
And things are moving along well, and I'm not going to retire.
Yeah, thank you. Forget about it.
Right, there you go. About retirement, forget about it. Yes.
I just want to add one thing to that. I know a lot of people that retire and then they don't do anything. And there's a saying that goes, the trouble with doing nothing is you never know when you're finished.
Oh, it's a very good line. By the way, it's a very sad thing. There are studies done about this. People start aging very quickly after retiring. It's not good for you. It's very not healthy. They've also said if your purpose is in the work that we get to do, then retiring simply means that you're telling God, that's it. I'm absolving myself from my life's purpose. I'm done with doing my purpose. So when you look at it from that perspective, retirement becomes, no, this is serious business. You can't do that. Right? If one fulfills their life's purpose through their career, then retirement would be absolving yourself from that purpose. You're saying, okay, I'm not in the mood of my job anymore. I'm not in the mood of any purpose I could accomplish. So I've always told people, stay active. Which means, it doesn't mean that at 80 you should be running around like a 30-year-old. What it does mean is, you're never officially done with responsibilities and with simply being productive and giving back to society. Do something, whatever it is. You know, Rabbi Joseph Telushkin, so he wrote a book. If you want to read more about the Rebbe, he spent a 6-year project on the book. He says it was his hardest project to write a book about the Rebbe. It was very, very difficult. And it's a very big book. It's a long read. So he says there, he writes in his book a story. His grandfather was the Rebbe's accountant. Interesting. His father. His father was an accountant. His father was Rebbe's accountant. He said his father was very, very ill. It was before his father passed away. And he got a call from, his father got a call from the Rebbe's office in the hospital with a little accounting question. And he was literally sitting in his hospital bed, but he gets a call from the Rebbe's office, an accounting question. So right away he does a little bit of, it was a pretty easy answer. He gave the answer, okay, thank you so much. And the line ended. Joseph Lushkin's trying to think, the Rebbe knows my father's in the hospital. Why are they calling him up? They said it was such a foolish question. Like, it wasn't even a big deal. He realized that the Rebbe wanted his father to feel useful. Simple as that. There was a very light question, but Mr. Telushkin, sitting in a hospital bed, shouldn't feel that my life is over and I'm worthless and I'm useless. No, the Rebbe still has a question for you. He said it was unbelievable. But the Rebbe wanted people to always have that feeling. I'm always being useful, I'm always being productive, and I'm giving back to society. When the Rebbe turned 70 in 1972, people thought then that the Rebbe was at the height of his career. The Rebbe has done so much good, and the Rebbe was such a powerhouse. And the Rebbe is now 70, celebrating 70 years, April of 1972. And a lot of well-wishing and well-intended fans and followers wrote to the Rebbe and said, maybe it's time for the Rebbe to slow down. So I started thinking about retiring, because they thought that this was the most the Rebbe could do. He was already getting old. The Rebbe was a very hard worker. The Rebbe did not take life easy. The Rebbe never took a day vacation. Never took a day vacation. Showed up to work every single day and worked very hard hours. The Rebbe's schedule was public knowledge. The Rebbe's office wasn't buried deep inside some complex behind the security fences. Everybody saw when the Rebbe's lights were on, when the Rebbe's lights were off, when the Rebbe left office to go back home. The Rebbe spent hours and hours and hours simply working. They said, the Rebbe has to calm down. Take it a little bit easier. And the Rebbe said, the Rebbe spoke about this publicly, that many people suggest to me privately to take it easy. And I say absolutely not. And my response to them is that I'm taking upon myself that in the upcoming year, in honor of my 71st year of life, I'm establishing 71 new institutions around the world. And today, 71, Chabad has 5,000 centers, 71 doesn't sound like a lot. But then it was more than doubling the footprint of Chabad. It was 71. It was a massive undertaking. The Rebbe did it that year, 71 institutions opened. The Rebbe said, no, we're not taking it easy. The Rebbe said, I have plans for the next decade and for the decade after that. No retirement, because this is where God needs us, so we'll always stay productive. Okay, dear friends, we have 20 minutes left of today's class.
Please say the name of the author of that book.
Rabbi Joseph Telushkin. It was a New York Times bestseller. It made him into a best-selling author, Joseph Telushkin, that book. You know what? I'll send a link to the book on Amazon in the email after the class. Okay, dear friends, we have a little bit left of today's class, and I want to speak a little bit of how the Rebbe gave some concrete ideas of how we could take this concept of seeing work as a divine purpose, as holy, and seeing work with a sense of oneness. Don't compartmentalize your work and your Jewish life. It's all one. There's no tug of war. You don't tell God, I'm sorry, God, please excuse me, I got to go work for a few hours. No. When you go to work, that's godly. And a Jew has to work hard on bridging that divide, because it's a false divide. We got to build that bridge because it's not real. Like what did President Reagan say, right? Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. The Rebbe had that attitude about all of life. Break down these walls. Stop compartmentalizing life. Everything you do is purposeful. Your work, that's holy. And the Rebbe very much wanted that the way we live our lives, the way we live our business lives, our career lives, our money lives, should mirror that attitude. So there's a story. Three Jews immigrate to America, and time to get a job in America. Three friends. So the first one, his name was Goldman. He says, my last name is Gold. I'll go into the gold business. I'll go into jewelry, precious metals. He does well. There is another Jew, and his last name is Spielman. Spielman. What does Spielman mean?
Player.
A player. So he says, "Oh, entertainment. I'll go into the entertainment industry," and he does very well, like all the Jews in the entertainment industry, right? Spielman, Spielberg, something happened. Whatever, it's all the same. There's a third Jew. His name was Schneiderman, right? Schneiderman. What does Schneider mean in Yiddish? A tailor. So I'll go into business. He starts going to fabrics and making clothes. He tries one business, doesn't work. Second business doesn't work. So he told his friends, you know what? Listen what I did. I tried a third time. This time I brought God in as a partner, and now it's successful. You know what he called his business? Lord and Taylor. I don't know if it's a true story, but it could be. It could be. Okay. The Rebbe said like this, and this is the Rebbe guided people, especially when they're going through difficult times in their business, to bring God in and see business itself as a godly venture. And the Rebbe said, you will see that itself brings the blessings. The faith in God, the trust in God, and seeing this as a godly business. Lord and Taylor. That itself brings the blessings. Let's read text 7 on page 16. All right, do you want to read? No. We'll pass it on? Yeah. All right, remind me your first name.
Rick.
Rick Smith. Rick, we got you. Text 7, page 16.
I received your letter in which you write about your anxiety in regard to the question of Parnassa, livelihood. You surely know how often our sages have impressed on us the importance of trust and confidence in God, in order that we realize that all difficulties encountered in life are only trials and tests of a passing nature. To be sure, the question of Parnassa is one of the most difficult tests. Nevertheless, God does not subject one to a greater test than he can withstand. As our rabbis expressed it, according to the camel, so its load. The very trust in God is a vessel and channel to receive God's blessings, apart from the fact that such confidence is good for one's health and disposition, and therefore is also a natural means to the desired end.
The more we have the faith and trust in God and we lead our business in that way, the more it brings in blessings. Because this happens very often. We'll find pressure and stress financially. The channel to receive God's blessings is the faith in God and to run the business with that attitude. And Rebbe speaks about this a lot, how it's like a pipeline. Right? It's just like a pipe. You have a sink and it brings water in from pipes, but if you got a clogged pipe, it's no good. You're not going to get any water. Sometimes that also happens with God's blessings. There's a pipeline, but sometimes we have to make the pipes a little bit better. Even to redo the pipes, let's get bigger pipes. Let more blessings come in. The way to do that is by strengthening the spirituality and the holiness of our business. And then we give a few different pieces of advice about how to do this. How do we actually live our career life with this attitude? The first one is perhaps the most challenging. The Rebbe would encourage people to make a very difficult challenge, a difficult decision, which is to not go to work on Shabbos. And if you have a store, close it for Shabbos, which is such a difficult decision. And the Rebbe would encourage people to take the plunge. What the Rebbe would say is you are not sacrificing anything. If your job, if your career is your godly given purpose, and if God is the one who ultimately gives us the blessings of success, the Rebbe said it's impossible, it's not possible, that God would make you suffer because you decided to keep Shabbos. Impossible. So the Rebbe said you are not sacrificing. At the beginning it will look like a sacrifice. Because if you look at, a lot of business comes in on Shabbos. And how many people are gonna leave you for somebody else because somebody else is open on Saturday? Especially retail stores. You know, retail, that's all the business at retail. At Lord and Taylor, right? It's always on weekends, that's when everybody goes shopping. And most people would look at it, you know what? It's a sacrifice. It's a tug of war. God versus business. Who wins? One has to sacrifice for the other. The Rebbe said, don't look at it that way, right? Oneness. You will not lose. You will only get more blessings by keeping Shabbos. Let's read this letter on text 8, page 17. Just one example of where the Rebbe speaks about. This is in a letter the Rebbe wrote to somebody. Mrs. Smith, remind me your name, or Dr. Smith, right? Remind me your first name. Kate? Kate. All right, would you like to read?
No, that's
Okay. All right then, no worries. Elke, text 8, page 17.
It is clear to the unbiased mind and to plain common sense that the Almighty, who is the giver of the Torah and Mitzvot, is also the creator and master of the world, whose benevolent providence extends to everyone individually. It is also equally obvious that no lasting good can come from breaking God's laws, especially such as fundamental law as Shabbat observance. For the important thing is not how much money a person earns, but that he should be able to spend it in good health and on happy things, which is entirely in the hands of God. In view of the above, it is quite clear what your attitude of the businessman in question should be, even if there were no other immediate business propositions. For it is necessary without delay to give up the kind of business that interferes with Shabbat observance. With the full confidence that he who feeds and sustains 3 billion people and all living things will also be able to take care of the individual and his family, and provide him with a source of panos, which should not be in conflict with the will of God.
The tone of this letter is very, very interesting. You have to unpack this. You know, one thing a rabbi could say is, I know that it's a very big sacrifice and you're going to be losing a lot of opportunities, but you know what? It's more important to keep Shabbos. Too bad. That's one tone. That's not what the Rebbe is saying over here. The Rebbe is saying it's impossible that God would make you lose by keeping a mitzvah. It's impossible. So you're going to get blessings. There'll be other opportunities for success. Don't worry about it. And they would encourage people, just take the plunge and you'll see the blessings. And this is one example of make a difficult decision, which is living life with a sense of oneness. There's no conflict. I got to go to work, and I got to make money, and that's what God wants me to do, and God wants to keep Shabbos, no problem, right? It's all seamless. Okay, let's watch this video, Daniel. You ready? You can tell your doctor that you got all your exercise for the weekend over here. Okay.
I started a store, clothing store in downtown Los Angeles, 3,000 square feet store. I really seriously was saying myself, like, I want to close the store on Shabbos. I don't want to work on Shabbos. But it was difficult to think like this because most of the business you're doing on Shabbos. There was some Shabbos I used to sell $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on Shabbos. During the week, barely I can sell $100, $150. Now the contract, the lease I have, I was obligated 20 years lease. The owner, he warning me in the beginning, if you ever was thinking to leave this lease, I'm gonna run after you to the rest of your life. I'm not gonna let you go out from it. So I wrote to the Rebbe, told them, Rebbe, I decide to close my store on Shabbos. I would like to have a blessing, I should not get hurt. I'm getting a letter, and in the envelope I open, I see $18, and then it say, 1. מתחיל מקודם שקיעת החמה וגדול הזכות. 2. להפיץ את התורה מתוך שמחה. 3. לתת צדקה שמה, to give צדקה at the money what he gave me. The next day I say, I'm going to go to the landlord, and I'm going to give him the lease, and the landlord was not there. I came back to my store. There is a guy walking to my store. He wants to buy the store, he's telling me. So I told him, go to the landlord. He's telling me, I was with the landlord. I say, what the landlord told you? He say, you holding the lease, אתה מחזיק את החוזה. He took a checkbook and he wrote me a nice check. Just can tell you, with this check I bought a house and I started manufacturing. And I remember going to the Rebbe, and on Sunday I told the Rebbe, I got a miracle with the store. The Rebbe was laughing and he went like this on my mouth, like, don't talk about this.
אנחנו השקענו שלושתנו בביזנס של לסגור בשבת. אנחנו צריכים ברכה והצלחה בביזנס.
בשביל השבת ויום טוב.
ויום טוב.
ושבת
ויום טוב סגור.
В первую очередь нужно соблюдать субботу. Так как это Бог указал, что Асерес Адибис, когда он дал Торы, он начал с того, что каждый еврей до конца времен должен соблюдать субботу.
I started my practice on Nulatz Avenue, and things looked very bleak. It wasn't going anywhere. I remember having a friend. I happened to have mentioned to him that I was having some problems. This young man suggested that the Rebbe would be able to help me, and I made an appointment with the Rebbe. I started to tell him I wasn't doing well here in Brooklyn, and I was able to find a place in Bayside. I was going to be starting an office there. He says, do you work on Shabbos? And I said, yes, I do. And he says, now you're going to a new place. He says, you're moving. Perhaps you want to think about not working on Shabbos. It became known that Dr. Walensky doesn't work on Saturday. And it was unheard of. Dr. Walensky goes to a shul. I was very successful financially, very successful. Even in the way I lived my life, I felt I was more satisfied, more at ease, very satisfied with being Jewish.
So that's one area. And the Rebbe was dear to people. Like, just try it. You got to make the plunge. But I'm telling you, you won't lose out. The next suggestion over here that the Rebbe gave to people is to bring a sense of holiness into the workplace, which is find opportunities, even if they're brief, to bring Torah study into the workday. A little bit. On lunch break, study a little bit, listen to a podcast, have a book, and when you need a little bit of downtime, open it up, study for 10 minutes. And this is the way the Rebbe spoke about it. I want to read this text with you. And this is actually from a talk the Rebbe gave to a bunch of business people. So the audience here was not the Hasidim. This was an American business group that the Rebbe was addressing over here. Daniel, we're up to you, right?
Yes.
You're really shining tonight, Daniel. So many responsibilities. Okay, text 9, page 19.
Text 9. A business person should dedicate a portion of their time.
No. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Each day to Torah study. Although this eats into the time that is usually dedicated to work, not only will this study not detract from their overall success, but to the contrary. Torah study clears and refines the mind to be able to make better business decisions with greater clarity and efficiency. It calms the spirit, leading to greater success in business and greater happiness in life. This phenomenon is expressed clearly in the Torah itself. If you go in my way and fulfill my commandments, I will provide rain in its optimal time. When we dedicate time for Torah study, we are guaranteed divine blessings for success in a way that is optimal, without stress or worry.
And once again, you see the Rebbe's tone over here. The Rebbe's not saying, I know you got busy days, but you got to make time for Torah study. The Rebbe's not guilt-tripping them in that way, right? What's the Rebbe saying? Spend time for study Torah, and you'll see this is going to help you in business. It'll give you more clarity. It'll settle the mind. You'll be happier. This is the whole tone how the Rebbe saw it. Bring that sense of holiness into the business, and that itself helps you. Torah study clears the mind and calms the spirit. And the third suggestion here that the Rebbe gave was to make a central pillar of your career, of your business, the sense of charity, the sense of the purpose. It's not that we happen to give charity, right? End of year, we got to get our tax write-offs, we give charity. But make it a central part of the business. At least, I would say, 10% of the net profit. At least. Give more. They would always tell people actually to not be too exacting with the 10%. Don't get the 10% exactly. Give it a little bit more, you know? You don't want to show God you're being too stingy with giving charity. The idea was, when you give charity, you're bringing God in as your partner. You know, that's the whole attitude. Business is purpose. So let's think about like an investor. If you have an investor in a company, that investor wants to get a report, right? How's your, is this company doing well? What's the return on investment? What happens if after a while there's no return on investment? The company is tanking. What happens to your investors? Right? They start going MIA. You don't want that. The return on investment that God wants from us in business, one of the key things is charity. That's part of what helps get the wheels of kindness, of goodness in our world flowing. God gives us opportunities. We share those opportunities with others. The more we give charity, that's clearly bringing God in as our partner, and God feels more and more confident to invest in our career. So I would always encourage people to make charity a staple and champion it. It should be something we're proud of, and it's front and center of who we are as a business, of a store, and in our career. Let's read text 10 from a letter from the Rebbe. Text 10, page 20. Alex, where are you?
I hope that from now on you will realize more fully and confidently that God is your partner in business, by virtue of the tzedakah charity stake in it. And of course, the larger the share of the tzedakah, the larger is the share of the partnership. So you go boldly ahead on the waterfront. I hope you do this.
So the Rebbe says, be broad. Be daring, give even more than you're comfortable giving, and this brings God on as a partner. And they would tell people, especially when they're saying they're going through a financially difficult time, the Rebbe says, make a pledge for charity. You don't have to give all of it right now, but at least give a little bit. This will help it oils the wheels, it gets things going, and this will brings God's blessings. And we'll have our final video for today. You ready, Daniel? So this is championing charity, setting aside at least 1/10 of net profits for charity.
My business has been very bad, and I hope that God, you can give me a brachas of my
You put a tzedakah in your business and
Yes.
to arrange to have at least 10% given for the net income of the business to tzedakah, to charity.
Thank you, Rebbe.
Yeah, God Almighty bless you. Have good news. That's what goes in the tzedakah in the business.
Thank you, Rebbe.
You're welcome.
אני דור 11 בישראל. אני פיתחתי נושא חדש שמאוד חשוב לי לשלמות המשפחה ולהצלחה של המשפחה. אני מבקש את ברכתך. ההמצאה היא המצאה מאוד חשובה ויחידה בעולם.
באיזה שטח?
בשטח האלקטרוניקה. אחסון של מידע מחשבים דרך הטלפון. זו ההמצאה היחידה בעולם.
ויהי בהצלחה רבה ובשורות טובות. צריך להבטיח להשם שתיתן בצדקה 10% מהרווח הנקי. זה ברכה והצלחה. הצלחה רבה. $1 auf Meister. Sein Bedienung, die Meister.
So geben Bedienung auf den Cent?
Nein, die Parkett, die wird mäßig sein, so sein nicht Bedienung auf Kaufmann mit $1 mehr.
Maybe Meister.
All right, dear friends. Now, one of the suggestions, and the Rebbe always spoke about this, that in a business, you should have a charity box. Today, how are donations given? They're usually given once a year. Once a year, we give a donation. All right, the company sends a check. The Rebbe wanted a physical charity box in your business, on your desk. It sets the tone. You're sitting at your desk, and what do you have there? You have a charity box. And ideally, every single day, put a little bit in. Put $1. It doesn't have to be that much. The idea is, we're in the mode of giving. There's a good development in today, give a little bit of charity. I'm not talking about you don't have to give a lot of money each time. A little bit. Exercise that muscle. It sets the tone. We give charity, and this is what we're here for. We're here with purpose. And dear friends, with that, I think our time is up. This is at least scratching the surface a little bit. If you want a little bit of an encore, I prepared one last little video, which is more of a finale video. It's off topic. But I think it addresses a little bit of an elephant in the room. So if you want, it's a 3-minute video. I'm going to play it to you. It's not too over time, so I could push my luck over here. All right, Daniel, let's do it. Little final video.
Rivka Blau is the daughter of Rabbi Mordechai Pinchas Teitz, a prominent rabbinic activist and chief rabbi of Elizabeth, New Jersey. In 1961, she was vice president of Yavne, one of the first Orthodox student organizations on American college campuses.
Our mission statement was that we wanted to promote Jewish learning and Jewish observance on campus, and that we wanted to, I don't remember the exact wording, but that we wanted to enable people who want to know more about their Jewishness to find out, but we knew we had to know more if we were going to be that kind of a presence on campus. It was essentially Jewish learning, Jewish observance, and not to feel so alone. And that if people wanted to learn more, we would be available to help them. Those were pretty much that was the essence of the mission statement. And at that time, we already had, I think, between 13 and 15 college groups involved. And we also had isolated students in different places. At Rutgers, we had 3 or 4 students. At the University of Pennsylvania, we had some students. Now, at that time, the Lubavitch Rebbe had a representative who would come to Columbia and who got friendly with the president of Yavne, Joel Levine. And this young man, his last name was Feller, told Joel and me, well, actually he told Joel first and then Joel told me, that he wanted to meet with 2 officers of Yavne and to talk to us about how we had gotten started and what we were doing. Our appointment was for 10 o'clock at night, so we came to 770 Eastern Parkway at 10 o'clock at night, and we were asked to come in to see the Rebbe at 12 o'clock. And he asked us many detailed questions about how we had started, how we had found each other, what we were finding on campus, what were the problems, what were the possibilities, what opportunity was there for people who were interested in finding more about their Jewishness, how could we reach them, what do we find worked well, what we found did not work. Very, very to the point questions. At the end he said, well, I've asked you a lot of questions, would you like to ask me some questions? And I had no questions to ask of the Rebbe. I thought that this was a wonderful meeting that we had just now had, and I said, no, thank you. And the fellow who was with me said, well, yes, I've spent a Shabbos or 2 here in Crown Heights, courtesy of this young man that I know from Lubavitch. And I hear all kinds of wonder stories about you. I hear that you know better than the doctor whether there should be surgery or not. You know better than the lawyer which way to proceed with a case. Do you know more medicine than the doctors? Do you know more law than the lawyers? I mean, what kind of thing is this? So the Rebbe smiled, and he said, you know, when a house gets built, the architect draws up a blueprint. He gives the blueprint to the contractor, and then the contractor tells the plumber how to do the plumbing, the mason how to do the masonry, the electrician how to do the electricity, the electrical work. He said it's not that the contractor can do it better than everybody, but he can read the blueprint, and that's why he can give the instructions. So he said, Hashem istakel ba'oraiso vara alma, the blueprint of the world is the Torah. So somebody can understand Torah, he can tell other people what they have to do within their own métier.
Dear friends, I want to thank all for joining. You know, there's something which I realize, sometimes in these videos there's a lot of niche terms, niche concepts. Feel free to ask me if there's something which I need to fill in over here, all right? But here we go. This was step 1 of our journey. I want to thank you all so much for joining. And next week is lesson 2, all about family. Family relationships, domestic harmony, education, creating a healthy home environment. Coming up next week for lesson 2. And I want to thank you all so much for joining. May God bless you all. This was so wonderful. If you didn't take already, or you could still take even if you did, please take some a little bit of nosh on your way home. And I want to thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful evening. We shall see you all next week. May God bless you all. And thank you all for joining. And also, I told you this last course. You guys know the joke. This isn't a lecture. You know the joke with the lecture, Daniel?
I know.
So here's a joke. Ready for a little joke?
That's you.
Quick joke. There's a guy, he's walking home at 4 a.m., walking home from the bar. And he gets pulled over by a police officer. He's stumbling in the road. So the police officer pulls up next to him and says, where do you think you're going? He says, me? I'm going to the lecture. So the police officer says, the lecture? It's 4 a.m. You going to a lecture? He says, oh boy, you better believe I'm going to a lecture. I'm walking home right now. My wife's going to be sitting on the couch, and I'm going to get a lecture. So listen, this isn't a lecture. It's a learning. We're learning together. Please feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions, any thoughts, you'll be getting sometime over the next few days an email with a recap, additional links, additional stuff if you want to check it out, the recording of the class as well. And I look forward to being in touch with you all next week this week and next week Wednesday, same time, same place. We'll see you then. Have a wonderful night. Take care. You're so welcome.